Hi everyone, it's Kendra Devlin, and I am back for another personal story about my life and how God has continued to show me and what He has called me to do from my childhood up until now. And I'm a Christian life coach, and I help Christians release past wounds so they can turn their testimony into their ministry. Also help with discipleship for churches and those that are in online ministry space. So I'm excited to go ahead and get going. So this particular story I hadn't even thought of until I actually recorded another video. So this is really about just growing up. I can't tell you like what time frame it started, but it was definitely in grade school, of where I would always have these revolving thoughts of when I was in different places, things bad happening, and then playing that scenario out. So just for an example, let's just say I went to the movie theater, and then like 5 seconds later, I'm sitting down, and then I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what if a fire started? And then where are the exit signs? And if the fire started, then what if those people over there died? And I almost couldn't get out. And then when I tried to get out, I had to move her this way, and I had to go this way. And then my friend that I was with, she couldn't get out, and she died in the fire. And then when I hurried up and got out of there, like I did, it was just like an on and ongoing process of these thoughts that I would have, and almost like these stories that would be in my mind, that it would just automatically just make up these stories all the time. I could be in any setting. All of a sudden I would think something negative, and then I would kind of go down the rabbit hole of what that thing was. And for years I would have these, and it wasn't until my adulthood that I had to kind of stop myself and realize you need to stop cultivating all these negative things in your life. Like, yes, you should be able to go in somewhere and say, okay, if anything happens, there's an exit right there. But it shouldn't be like 10 minutes later, you still cultivating this story, and you're saving people, and then you're helping that person over there. You didn't get saved, you died. Somebody, like, it shouldn't be that, because that's where it starts to get like evil and kind of demonic, when you start going down rabbit holes that are just negative, and pulling that type of stuff into your mind, into your life. So once I got in my earlier 20s, it was literally like, you got to stop having those thoughts, and you got to stop thinking these things in this way. Like, you need to be able to, when you see yourself starting to do this, like, you need to correct it, and you need to like shorten it and shorten it and shorten it. Mind you, I've always been into writing. Like, even when I was younger, I would like write different stories, but it would kind of be like the same kind of stories, little good stories, but same kind of stories. And then also being a songwriter, and been writing songs since I was younger, in grade school as well. All of these things kind of started to pull itself together, because it wasn't until like Christ was really transformed in me that I realized all of these different cycles of thinking this thing and thinking this is going to be bad and blah, blah, blah. It literally played back into like my mind of strategy. I just needed to move it from like all the bad things to like the good things that could happen. And so now when you would talk to me, if you were to tell me something, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole with you. I'm be like, hold up, stop. Let's reverse that, and let's move towards Christ. Like, what we're not going to do is have this cycle of thought and thinking that's not going to get us anywhere. That's going to have us thinking crazy thoughts continuously, because as you go down the rabbit hole one time, then it's another time, and now you're trying to pull yourself out of something, and you're supposed to be working. Like, you've been talking crazy for like 30 minutes in your head. So, but I realized like it wasn't that I needed to stop creating stories, and I needed to stop creating these different journeys because I'm a writer, but it was like I needed to think about these things, or think about life better. Think about life differently, and not in such a negative way of things that could happen, because it wasn't just regular life things that I would just think negatively. It was like, once I settled into a thought, I could just warp it like really quickly. And so God has been showing me, like, for one, you don't even have to have those thoughts to be recurring. Like, you can stop them if you want to, if you are conscious of them, if you are aware of them. It's like, okay, this ain't the right type of thought. Like, I really need to do better. And then after that, like, if you are strategic, if you are a writer, if you are kind of person like to tell stories, do it in a healthy way. Like, being able to share it in a song, in a story, in a book, in a way that you help people. It's like those creative juices that are flowing is like, that can be put into something good and some good use. And so that's kind of what I got out of it for myself, and how it kind of, those breadcrumbs of who I am today. It really just goes back to me being able to shift myself from, this old way of thinking with the base being good to actually doing those things for God and not being caught up in the negative pieces of this world and what can come into your mind, but like actually shifting that and changing that and molding that to a Christ-like behavior and a Christ-like mind, and kind of like a David kind of mentality where you see something negative happen, but then by the time the end of the song, he's praising God, So having more of a 360 moment, a quicker moment to come out, more of a strategic moment, but again, all these little breadcrumbs for your own life, because it may be different things that you have dealt with, now showing you some of those good pieces of what you are and what God is wanting you to do. And you're thinking, oh no, I shouldn't be telling stories, period. Or I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing that, because anytime it comes to be, it's negative. Some of those things actually are not negative. It's now you need to use it for the proper use, for the proper thing. So let me know in the comment section if that was something that gave you an epiphany, or just things that you may have done in your childhood up into your young adult phase that you thought maybe it was a negative, but it really ended up being a positive when you actually used it for God in the way He needed to. But yes, go ahead and subscribe. And as always, whatever God has called you to, give yourself maybe some time to reflect today and see if some of those pieces that you said you don't know about where God is leading you are actually there, throughout your life that God has called you to do. And go ahead and get started today, because tomorrow is too late to be great.